Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here. Welcome back to another Supreme Commander Epic. It's custom 4v4 business going down on the one, the only, the infamous Setons clutch for your viewing pleasure this afternoon. It's been a little bit of a while since we last met. Hope you're all doing well. Apologies for the delay. It's due in part, though not all in fairness, to some DDoSing that's been going on the FAF servers of late, conflicting my timetables here and there, which is not ideal. I actually spoke to Jip today, and he said that the powers that be think they know who it is. And if you're watching, sir, and it's most likely a sir, just stop it, would you? Just stop it. You'll never get a girlfriend. They don't like it, I hear. All the conversation about DDoSing. Nothing dries a woman up faster. Anyway, that's a bit gross. On to today's game. This is going to be Team 1 at the top. This is going to be Team 2 down here at the bottom. Going first for Team 1, rearguard air position. It is John Smith 007. Nothing is more conflicting in my mind of John Smith's, if you remember the old John Smith's adverts from the 90s and noughties with, what was his name? Peter Kay. Absolutely awesome. And 007. That's the juxtaposition of two incongruent elements, as my old surrealist art teacher used to mention. Anyway, he's going Cybran, bless him. And he's opening first land in Ferrari Red. Team member number 2 for Team 1 down at the cliffs in Elephantine Grey. Going UEF, how terribly sensible. It is VMC Sneck. He's gone first air. Oh, he's going air all day by the looks of things, making sure he bags that side island early. I don't actually think we mentioned, but first land for John Smith, if I didn't mention that. Team member number 3 for Team 1, already on the move. It's Radiance in baby pink, going Seraphim. And we're not sure what he went first. Probably went first land, second air, but that's a guess. And last but not least, for Team 1, in Halib Orange, it's another Seraphim. He's gone first land, going second air. He is, what's his name? Shady Socks. There he is, about to enter the water. He's get his socks wet. We're talking about it. Let's check out Team 2, and then we'll go through all of the racial disparities at the end of the introduction. Going first for Team 2 in rearguard air position, going Spetsnaz Green in Cybran. It's Analyze Noob, and yes, I am going to say it as Analyze, despite how he's written it. He is going first land on the cliffs for Team 2 in Lime Green, and going Aeon, our first of the day, it's Gabba, and he's gone first air, going second air as well. This is a bit of a new meta, just going air all day. Usually you go early air, admittedly, to make sure you secure the side islands if you're at the cliff, but I don't always recall them going mass early air, but obviously it seems to be a thing. Next up on the causeway, and almost out the middle, I think it's fair to say, it's Zoomed In, another Cybran, this time in the season's fabulous Vivacious Violet, and he opened, I imagine, land and is going land all day. That is very typical for a causeway player. And last but not least, in Burgundy Red, also consistent with the meta and making his way up to support the central causeway player, it's my good friend GFY's Duponi, going Seraphim in Burgundy Red, if I haven't said that already, and opening probably first land, second air by the looks of it. In fact, almost definitely because of the location. So there we have it. Racial makeups are 2 Seraphim, a UEF and a Cybran there for Team 1. And it is 2 Cybran, a Aeon and a Seraphim for Team 2. Game quality at 94%. Players to watch out for. Shady Socks over here on the beach for Team 1. He's a whopping 2,000 rated. And GFY's the Pony at the beach over here for Team 2, a 1,800. Why is that good? Well, typically, I believe the cliffs generally have a little bit of, should we say, an advantage in terms of eco. So you often see the top pond going to Team 2 and the bottom pond going to Team 1. But we'll see if it works out today. It's not always a given. What's happening down here? Zoomed In and Radiance getting into it in the center. Or I say getting into it. Radiance is just hacking away at Zoomed In's chassis, and Zoomed In is not remotely interested in any way. He is just going about his merry business, reclaiming as much of the mass lying around as possible in the hope that that's going to give him and his team a decent advantage here. And of course, with that 18 hit point a second regen compared to the Seraphine's 10 hit point a second regen, he can tank this for a little bit, but he's getting chopped through his base health pretty good here. I mean, we're down to almost 50% of that base health. Radiance, by comparison, is hardly taking any damage at all. It's on 10,100 as the extra T1 spam comes in to assist. But if we take a look at the reclaim figures, you can see Team 2 are just up here by about 1,300 mass or so. So that's a nice little early start that Zoomed In, a little early advantage Zoomed In has got them. If they can manage to at least split the rest of this eco 50-50 between them, then it's probably going to work out pretty well for Team 2, at least in the very early stages of this one. Depony coming in from the south, Radiance coming in over, well, actually, no, he was the one who came down the causeway, I should say. It's Shady Socks coming in from the north, and those two have met with furious and reckless abandon, taking pot shots at one another. Have a couple of extra units of T1 spam here, but nothing to write home about, as the Mantis brought in for Zoomed In comes in, targets an engineer, and starts putting a little extra damage on Shady Socks' comm. Depony's taken the lion's share of the damage that's been dished out between these two. He's down to 7,300 hit points. Shady Socks is on 8,400, but Shady Socks will back up slightly here, being mindful to stay within reach of the water, of course, in case things get too hot for him. Zoomed continuing to press now with his comm. Shady Socks thinking about splitting away, but as soon as Zoomed In shows up, he's like, nope, got to stick close to the water here, and that is the right decision. It looks like just for safety's sake, he is going to dip his toes into the water and take the edge off here. A little bit of extra firepower coming in from Radiance as a decent amount of T1 spam starts filtering down from the main base up there to the northeast. Depony now on 5,500 hit points, Zoomed In on 7,000. Two comms though, surely more than enough to take care of all of this spam. And once he's within a decent distance, or has cleared a decent distance between him and the fighting, he shoves an upgrade on his comm. We're at 11 to 12% done of a gun upgrade. Interesting, he didn't go defensive there, and to get that extra chunk of hit points back after losing so many on that opening exchange. But no, he's going aggressive, each to their own. Radiance advances a little bit further forward with his comm, takes a few pot shots at some T1 spam. Nice bag of the radar over there. What's happening elsewhere on the map? Well, this is a saucy little endeavor. What have we got here? Transport inbound from Shady Socks, laden with about 5 T1 engineers. Even has its own escort detail, albeit just the single plane moving out here. There is a T1 bomber circling, so if Team 2 get wind of this and act quickly, they might be able to take all of these engineers out the moment they land. But it all is going to come down to execution, and if he's paying attention, he's going to have to get the engineers on the ground now, which he does. Pulls the transport back. Where are the NGs going? They aren't going to clump up. That's a wise decision, considering there's that T1 bomber circling overhead. Must get an operational land factory up and running as quickly as possible. That is progressing at a decent rate. He's never going to be able to kill all of these NGs off with one bomber. It gets completed. There's the initial bomb. Takes care of 2 of the 5 NGs. And there goes another one. There's now a couple of bombers kicking around. But I think it's been rumbled a little bit too quickly. I'm not sure we're going to get anything out of this, as a bunch of labs arrive from Analyze Noob. They kill off the last of the NGs and that little Zooey there that's just been produced, and now they're going to finish murdering off that land factory. So a nice idea there from Shady Socks, but didn't quite work out. For something like that to really make any heyday, you've got to go undiscovered for a little time. But unfortunately, there were too many aircraft buzzing around from Team 2 in that corner of the map for a stealthy intro or entry to work out. GFY's Depony taking a battering in the center of the map on that opening exchange. He's down below 2,000 hit points and withdrawing as a result. which is probably a wise decision. But we've got a few hoplites here, so a nice transition to T2 tech from zoomed in. Will that be enough to hold these comms at bay? Shady Socks, remember, went for a gun upgrade. He's now completed that, and that gives him significant range advantage over all of these units. And he can, at the very least, start to push them further back. Trick here, of course, is not to get overconfident, especially when you have a mere 3,400 hit points left. But he's probably looking to grab a little bit of extra veterancy here to try and recover some health that way. It's not a bad plan as long as you don't overextend. We've got another transport coming in now from Team 1, this time from Radiance, and this time it's not a base building operation, it's sheer T1 spam, perhaps looking for a kill on Depony as it flies right past the comm, or perhaps not. Maybe he took the eye off the ball and he was just moving in that direction. Sometimes transports can cover a little bit more ground than you expect. Transport does get dealt with, but all of the THAMs are on the ground, and it looks like they are going to push maybe further in or just stick by this T2 mechs and try and pick that off. They are successful in that endeavor. Depony continuing to move in this position into this area with his commander. Not worried about the low health situation, and why should he be really? Con more than enough match for 5 or 6 THAMs. Nice defensive position up in place now for zoomed in. Got himself a couple of T2 engineers and has assisted the building with his commander. Radiance straying into range there, noticing just how much damage was being put out, even though they're those weak-ass Cerberus turrets. You get enough of them together and they can start to sting. He wisely says, I don't want any of that, thank you very much. And I think this will be the end of Team 1's little push down on the causeway section. In the top pond, though, a few developments here. Nice little push from Gabba, who's managed to get a few vessels right the way up to the harbour area of Shady Socks, but I don't think he's got the fleet requirements to really deal any crippling blows here. We've got 1 sub and 1 frigate. These are all those useless attack boats. Great for anti-air coverage for T1 threats, but other than that, completely useless. But potentially a nice little bit of early harass there. Managed to get a few units, a few T1 vessels right up over here. Sometimes that works out, but a lot of times it doesn't. T2 upgrade now on the way for Radiance. So that's going to be a nice combination between the 2 comms on the causeway, assuming, of course, Shady Socks doesn't just withdraw his comm now. He certainly could. Depony's all the way back here. There's no real need for him to stick around on the centre of the map, the central causeway. I can't remember the last time I saw a successful breakthrough, especially at a pro-level Setons on the causeway in the early stages, which led to a win. It's generally not the way these things materialise. The whole point of a causeway player is just to stop the momentum of the other causeway player, not actually to push all the way through, unless the game is extremely unbalanced and you have some high level pro versus a low level Joe and then they just steamroll them. But if it's at all even, that generally doesn't happen. There's too much support value from the flanking teammates for any real push to be successful in the early game. That's been my experience from watching years of these games play out. So we've got a few ASFs on the field now for John Smith. What have we got down here for Team 2? We certainly have an iron reactor and a T3 air factory, but yet to see any actual T3 aircraft out from Analyzed Noob. So slight advantage for Team 1 in the air game. However, speaking of air, little push here from Depony, who's just going to come and harass some of the resourcing options down here maybe, or are they going to push straight on? No, it looks like they're targeting the island. Taking opportunity just to take some pot shots at these mexes. And a transport as well. Transport is going to offload there, but the gunships are going to push on further north. Probably going to run into an air superiority fighter or two. and get shot down in good order in pretty quick time. Probably would have done more damage had they just stuck around over here, although might get some work done with these assault bots. Lack of focus on the targeting. Should be able to bag at least one T2 mechs. Zooming back out, taking stock of where the two naval conflicts are at the top and bottom ponds. It is pretty much level pegging at the time being. Top pond, Gabba starting to amass some forces just on Team 1's side of things. Looking a little bit more 50-50 in terms of pond control, but bottom pond certainly seems to be more vessels for Sneck, as you would expect. As we said at the beginning, generally more mass available to the cliff players. Let's see if that is replicated in the values. Well, Sneck putting out 126, but 2,000 rated player Shady Socks currently pulling in 159. Depony in the bottom pond looks like he's power locked, maybe? No, he's not. He needs to catch up pretty quick. He is a little bit off the pace compared to Team 1. How is Gabba doing? Gabba's doing in 137, so a very different situation down here. Shady Socks doing really well at the beach. Probably going to give Gabba a run for his money for the foreseeable future in the top pond. Depony, who's been focusing on some alternative attack methods, perhaps falling off just a little bit in the eco side of things. Needs to catch up and catch up quick, but he is dealing some nice damage here. Has all but eradicated Sneck's presence on his side island. One more mechs to go, and there it goes. But another transport lands, two more engineers, and unless the bombers can take care of the Mantis immediately, those engineers are about to get killed off. They desperately try and get a plasma cannon up and running, but are not going to manage it. Those three Mantis still alive and trying to dodge the T1 bombers' ordnance as best they can. What have we got here? Shady Socks bringing his comm right to the shoreline and taking fire from two destroyers here. It needs to be careful. He was down to 2,500 hit points, maybe slightly below that before we noticed what was going on over here. But with the demise of that second destroyer, he gets a rank in veterancy which pushes him up over 4k. But still, that shows you just how desperate things are down here. He does have one destroyer of his own. That's badly damaged, below 2,000 hit points now. Look at this. Another destroyer and 3 sub-hunters. And now a cruiser. And a couple of forward factories as well. I was saying how well Shady Socks was doing on the eco side of things. But all of that will be for naught if he loses his navy early doors and gets shore locked. Lovely little bit of torp bomber spam, locked onto that cruiser immediately and took it out. Analyze noob, I will not have air, sorry. Straight out of the blue. Just taking a look to see if anybody else had asked for any assistance from him. No, that was just a general statement. And I'd be interested to just have a quick ASF count. You've got 12 ASFs out from Analyze, and John Smith, 007 has 39. Yeah, Team 2 definitely don't have air. 39 and a little fleet of, or air wing of Cormorant torpedo bombers to harass Gabba, and the harass has been pretty solid. Look at the developments here. Just a moment ago we had lots of T2 vessels from Gabba roaming up here, a couple of forward, admittedly T1 naval yards, but they've been obliterated. In fact, there's nothing now except for 2 engineers till you go all the way back to Team 2's shoreline on this side of the map. What a turnaround that has been, thanks to this huge quantity of torp bombers and their escort detail. There goes another destroyer in a single pass. Not ideal. Gabba's been forced to produce his own air superiority fighters to try and contend with this air situation. So, major air win for Team 1. Team 1 also leading in the eco side of things, 850 to 645 on Team 2 in terms of total mass accrued. They are up by about 42k at 20 minutes in. So, things not going too badly for Team 1 here. It's looking a little bit dicey in the top pond a moment ago, but Gabba has been forced right back. We've even got this little group of Yenzines now, Seraphim hover tanks, looking like they are going to push on the side island. But of course, without a transport, they can't land here. Cliff edges prevent it. There's no passable route up. But perhaps they were looking to see if there were any more vulnerable naval yards they could pick off. And there is a nuke. So we were wondering what Analyze Noob was up to. Why he was behind the curve on ASF production. Well, he was going for some early standoff tactics. And the question is, at 21 minutes, are Team 1 ready? Do they have anti-nuke in place? I would suggest probably no. I imagine this has been scouted thoroughly by Team 1. Perhaps we don't even have Omni coverage yet. So he's rushed a nuke. And is he going straight for the air production facilities right at the back? That would make sense. So maybe we will see Team 2 attain air control, wrestle it back from their opponents. Boom! Perfect connection. And John Smith's 007, his base pretty much scratched off that. Should have taken a look at his eco situation before that landed. Loses all 4 core mexes, all of his air production facilities, and all of the reactors. Well, now here is an opportunity for Team 2 to grab the air initiative. Will they make a play for it? That's the question. Deponi seems to have recovered somewhat on his lagging mass production, but still, look at the difference here. 200, 200, 200. We do have a 300 out for Analyze, and then below 200, below 200, below 200. Radiance currently short stacking though. Causeway player for Team 1, and didn't mention it at the beginning, but technically the only Joe in residence today at 1400. Zoomed in the next lowest rated at 1500, so but pretty evenly matched on the Causeway. And consistent with the meta, I think it's fair to say, naval yard for the Causeway player in the bottom pond, or on the south side, plops it into the bottom pond. And he's actually managed to amass a decent number of Salems here, and could cause no end of problems for Radiance. Mass production now pretty much at level pegging, not much between the two teams, but I think it's about to flip in Team 2's favour, assuming these Salems don't do a runner. We have got some cruise missile fire coming in across the Causeway from the top pond. It's a whole lot of T1 naval spam just to the east. We do have some T2 vessels further behind. These Salems could wreck some face, but instead they are withdrawing. Looks like zoomed in, wanting to amass a little bit more naval firepower. Team 2 now up 200 mass per tick. But they've got some catch up to do. They're down almost about 90,000 mass. Something like that in terms of total mass. Saucy little cruiser placement from the Pony. Should be successful at bagging at least one, maybe if not both, of the hill-based T2 mexes. There goes one of them. No tactical missile defense in play. Might be forced to move on here, though. That is, of course, if he recognizes the threat. He does have the local radar coverage on board that cruiser. Can the cruiser outrun the T1 subs? Not actually sure. It looks like the subs might be quicker, or at least at the similar speed. These two have certainly caught him. That's probably the end of that hero cruiser, but he did manage to take out those two hill-based mexes. It's not going to worry Sneck too much. He's up on 323, almost chip leader. In fact, he would probably have been highest mass producer. No, what I'm talking about. Look at Analyze. Analyze pulling in 440 mass.
Strategic launch detected.
I zoom in at the perfect time to see another ICBM launch. Where's this one going? You would hope that everybody has strategic missile defense in place now. Ooh, an Awasar out from Shady Socks. Looks like John Smith has donated his air wing to Shady as an accompaniment to that Awasar. It looks like Socks is going to be the lucky recipient of nuke number 2, placed to try and hit both the core mass and the reactor grids, and does so beautifully. And again, didn't... Oh my god! Why is he pulling in only one mass? How out of... that can't be accurate. Something's going on there. We'll check back in with that in just a moment. Side island. First target of the Awasar. In comes the Air Force from Analyze Noob, who gets distracted by the Air Force. Instead of going straight after the bomber, thinks he wants to take care of as many of the fighters as he can before taking the bomber out. But the problem with that is that the Awasar is quick, takes out the naval yard on its way past, and now is making a play, by the looks of things, for the main base and air production facilities of Analyze Noob. Noob desperately trying to pursue with his fighters, but the bomb is away, and that's probably going to be the end of... Oh my god, it's going to land on his head. Well, Analyze takes an Awasar to the face, loses his base, and now the field has been somewhat leveled. All the aircraft that were sent out to safeguard that Awasar did their job, but they sacrificed themselves. So for the moment, we've still got a decent-sized air wing for Analyze Noob in play of 92 fighters, but at the moment he cannot replenish those, so he needs to get straight back on it. He's got himself a lot of reclaim to be playing with. Has a big old Awasar here that he's sitting under. And he's going to go straight for some hives, presumably to help rebuild and scoop up the mass. Bottom pond, Depony shooing away a superiorly numbered fleet with a handful, less than a handful of sub-hunters. Ah, I like that. Nice Galaxy class battleship, sorry. Donated over from his teammate, zoomed in. Says, you're handling things down here. I have a present for you. And That's starting to look like a nasty little fleet. Really do need to reinstate my little box here. This useful quick reference guide for damage output of specific armies and fleets and the like. Some spy planes out from Team 1. Look at that rebuilding effort. There's a real seesawing going on. Teams taking it in turns to obliterate their opponent's air production facilities. It's actually amazing how little conflict there's been in the ponds in this one. We've had some tittering and tattering, as my grandmother would have put it, between the teams, but no major naval brawls. Here we go. Mass Seraphim, support commander spam. Mass Fabs going up to support it. Are these all RAS preset, I wonder? Do they even do specific presets anymore, or has that been edited out? Certainly doesn't seem to have it listed. No upgrades at all. Answers in the comments section below if you're a FAF aficionado. If that has been a recent or not so recent change, I just hadn't noticed. Support commander spam has been supremely powerful late game, so perhaps that's a balancing tactic. Gabba bringing his comm over to the side island, presumably just to help with the rebuilding effort. Lost every structure in play with the exception of one mass storage on that side island. But it's all gone very quiet. 1.5k mass production for Team 2 versus 1.4 for Team 1. Total mass accrued, about just under 20,000 of mass advantage for Team 1. 31 minutes in, that is a minor blip, barely worth mentioning. These teams essentially neck and neck, but with a small advantage emerging here and there. Now Team 1 in the lead on mass production. Both sides sitting back, tooling up. Analyze Noob, in fairness, doesn't have a lot of other choice. He just has to keep building air production facilities so he can get back on top. Has got a second set of facilities going up in the middle of Team 2's territory. Respect for the potential nuclear threat. Oh, of course, he lost his missile launcher in that attack. Nice reprieve for Team 1, although by now I imagine they've all got strategic missile defense in place. Support commander going pop somewhere. Oh no, really? So Gabba deciding he'd had enough. What was that about? What? WTF? Accidental control K? Did he roll his ankle when he landed? So from Team 2's perspective, they saw the comm blow up over here. And that was actually a bug for a while. I'm pretty sure that's long been fixed, but long ago since been fixed. But yeah, you drop a comm off on unstable terrain and sometimes your comm or support commander would just go pop. But no, this is Team Angst. He makes no air. So I guess on comms, an issue between Gabba and Analyze Noob. And Analyze Noob said something Gabba didn't like. He makes no air. I got torped to pieces. Arse washer kills my HQ. Why are you losing? He says. I mean, well, both sides to that argument. Really, it was just a pretty darn good play from Shady Socks. I did have some issues, perhaps with them not going straight for the arse washer and going to tidy up the planes. But you can't say he didn't make any air. He's just not made any air since because he lost all of his air production power, and now he has a decent amount of aircraft. Not really sure that warranted a Control K, but that is the nature of the biz. And now Team 2 are down a player at 34 minutes in. Not an ideal situation. We had some handing back and forth between Depony and Zoomed In. It looks like Zoomed In, for the time being at least, is going to now take control of the cliffs. You can already see Radiance on the move, looking to capitalize on the potential power vacuum on this side of things. Not really a power vacuum, but maybe APM vacuum, shall we say. Zoomed In now pulling in a very healthy 738 mass per tick, sitting on 2 bases as he is. Sneck is only marginally behind that at 624, sitting in just the cliffs on Team 1 side of things. But Team 2 are up overall, 1.9k to 1.8k. Major naval battles kicking off in both ponds now. Depony getting into it with Sneck down here. A lot of T1 and T2 spam, backed up by sub-hunters and battleships in the rear. Seems to be mostly battleships and battle cruisers left over here now, with the exception of a few Coopers, torpedo boats up front for Sneck. It's a lot of battleships, a lot of summits, a lot of hit points to chew through. Checking in now on the top pond, it's Seraphim versus Seraphim. We do have Omen-class battleships, a couple of them in the rear. Not sure Radiance has the firepower to pull this off. We have got a few battleships coming in. 2 against 1, of course, over on this side of things. Decent number of naval production facilities laid out by Radiance, but most of them are just T1. We have a T3 in the back, which is where those battleships are coming from. Zooming back in on the bottom pond now, Depony almost at the naval yards. Has managed to push right up against this line of battleships. One aircraft carrier sitting out in the middle of it all, launching its cruise missile ordnance and trying to protect against any threat from the skies. A threat that might be brewing, as John Smith looks to do in the bottom pond once again what he did to Gabba in the top pond earlier in the game. A wave of cormorants inbound, going straight after the aircraft carrier to begin with. Sensible decision. It's badly damaged already. Down it goes to the bottom of that lake. If it is indeed a lake, we'll never know. The map is cut off at the edges. But that's a lot of anti-aircraft fire. Those cormorants will not be getting a second pass. In come the fighters for Analyze Noob to try and protect the skies a little bit. But he has now got himself split, or thinking about having to split his attention between these two theatres as a ton of spy planes move in on the left-hand side of the map for Radiance. Core mass has already been destroyed by cruisers which have sailed into the bay area for Radiance. Main base broadly functional, just a stone's throw away, but still completely unshielded. We have got volcanoes, tactical missile defense in play here, and more being constructed, but they could really do with some shielding to assist. Oh my goodness, there goes my phone. Do you know what? I usually always manage to remember to silence the thing, but on this occasion
Strategic launch
I did
detected.
not. Hello. Nuke out from a strategic missile submarine belonging to Zoomed In. Is it going after the naval yards? Is it going to tear a hole in the fleet? Oh, if it lands right in here. No, it's going after the naval yards. And there's no SMD protection on this side of things. It's going to hit the T3 naval yard, which survives with 1,000 hit points. Are you kidding me? A T3 naval HQ for the UEF can tank a sub-based strategic missile from a Cybran strategic missile submarine. That is news to me. Wow. I mean, that was more or less right on top of it. So there would have been no diminishment in the damage because of distance. But just because the missile didn't get it, I have a feeling this fleet of battleships will finish the job. Wow, John Smith definitely in control of the skies. In fact, I'm not even seeing the air wing now for Analyzed Noob, which probably means he's already lost it. We have a ton of cormorants stacked up over here, but they're going to get obliterated the moment he tries to use any of those, which is why he's sitting on his hands for the moment. Even though there are a couple of vulnerable battleships. I mean, if these go much further back, you could probably get in there easily and pick one of these off. But they are coming back for more by the looks of things. And indeed, that T3 Naval HQ did get taken out. And VMC Sneck in danger of getting landlocked here. He does have 3 battleships over here, but no way to replenish his fleet at the moment. He really needs aerial assistance from John Smith to keep this area clear. John Smith's, of course, with complete air control at this point as he hovers over the top of Analyzers Noob's main base and obliterates all of his torpedo bombers that were loitering there. He can now surely feel free to switch up to cormorant production. He's actually on gunship production at the moment. Every one of these facilities pumping out T2 gunships, I think. Maybe. Or maybe they're whalers. We will have a look in just a moment. But yeah, Depony just rolling in here. Almost completely landlocking Sneck. Could do with getting as much or as many of these aircraft carriers out as possible to try and defend against aerial attack, which is probably his plan. So he was going for whalers. It's actually an interesting decision. I personally probably would have had another pop at the torpedo bombers, could have gotten them out much faster and pushed Depony back. Really could have just spammed them out. And with just a couple of aircraft carriers, they wouldn't have been able to do much about that. You would probably be able to save maybe one, if not both, of these 2 forward bases that look like they are in danger of getting taken out here. Sneck does have an Atlantis in the shoreline area of the bottom pond. These whalers queuing up now in the top pond, looking to make a move. Ooh, Scathis on the way for Analyzed Noob. What else have we got? Anything juicy anywhere? Any other artillery in play? Another Awasar. Oh, and this time the main base at the cliffs looks like it will get cooked. Courtesy of Radiance this time. Battleships in the Bay Area poised to attack both of these bases. Support commanders going pop, and another transition down the edge of the screen from this Awasar. Takes out a mass fab and power grid farm over here, and now it's surely going to come for the main base once again and take these air production facilities out of commission again. Lands perfectly. Oh, what's going on here? Radiance's base taking fire now from the battleships in the Bay Area. Oh, another bomb away. Analyzed Noob's comms exposed. Is this going to take him out? Oh, almost down to 1,600 hit points. Strat bombers inbound from zoomed in. Com disappeared? Com dead. Just glanced up at the right time on the minimap there. And I don't think that was strat bombers. I didn't read. It looked like it might have been Depony. Oh, goodness. Did that not fire? It didn't drop its bomb on the second pass. He must have turned it too early, not got enough of a run-up, and as a result, Analyze Noob is still alive. Well, they dished out some real damage down here. Look at the state of the cliff's base. But they have lost their causeway player. Shady Socks now in command of what's left of the infrastructure over here. Another Awasar nearly complete, but look at Sneck's base. Core mass and infrastructure all gone. Just a little group of support commanders keeping this rear base alive, utilizing some of the hills as an extra defensive measure. Eco-wise, 2k for Team 2 versus 1.8k for Team 1, fluctuating all the time. Team 2 doing ever so slightly better, it would seem, but it's still anybody's game at 45 minutes. There were some slow parts a little bit earlier, but goodness me, if this didn't pick up in the last 15 or 20 minutes. Similar situation as Sneck's in. But this time, fewer units of build capacity in the area. Experimental complete. Is that another Awasar? Well, that's taking fire. That's almost complete. We can see the damage that's already been inflicted on it from those battleships. Oh my goodness. So nearly complete. There it is. There's no hit points left, and it immediately starts taking fire from the aircraft carriers. Oh, and now it's not really fit for service at all. We've got to either just suicide it somewhere, either on them, or suicide it in safe territory to cannibalize the wreck. Hordes and hordes of engineers being produced by a forward set of naval yards from Depony, moving up into this position. Is he looking to make landfall here? Quite possible. It's going to be tough to dislodge this. Look how many support commanders. We've got Ravagers going up in here. Lots of tactical missile defense. It's double shielded. But that forward causeway base for Team 1 has been annihilated. Once Radiance went down, there wasn't much left to hold it together. And there's just too many battleships and the like in the area. Now, is that the one that was badly damaged? It is. Takes another pot shot at that side island. There's two Awasars here now. Second one's like, I'm playing. Let me join in. Job was already done, fella. Sorry. Thanks for showing up. What have we got here? Massive amounts of mass fab farms going up at the back. Novak centers. Is there nothing more exciting than that? No one going for any major game enders or anything. Starting to get Ethotas mass produced, presumably ready for defense primarily. They must be expecting some kind of land incursion before long. We've got a small group of bricks marching up the causeway. Going to be taking fire from the northern pond as they go, but gives you an idea of the threat. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You see the group of engineers. You know something's up. Yolonaos in production. How long will it take Team 2 to discover it? That's the view from Team 2 right now. They are none the wiser about the threat that could be lurking there before too long. We did see Scathis in production. Was it there, or was it there initially and it got taken out by the last raid? All a bit academic, but that is, well, it's about 40% cooked so far. Have to say, as cool as the Scathis is on paper, and it can definitely have its uses, I really do feel that it's the least effective of all the game enders. Answers in the comment section below what you think the most powerful game ender is. I think it's probably the Paragon, surely. Can have the most material impact on a game, as long as you can keep the thing alive, of course. Still that base survives. And is that the first Novak satellite traversing, or do we have some down here already? I think it's the first one. Possibly first of many. Have a lot of unshielded structures down here because of that pesky Cybrin shielding method. Now, do they know about the Scathis? I imagine they probably do. And they've certainly got a read on the area thanks to that satellite now. They'll know there's something of interest down here. Maybe not immediately. Huge bank of tactical missile defense going up to protect the bases against the threat from the Bay Area. And now this is the sort of stalemate era. Both ponds conquered by opposing teams. And the next move has to be either full standoff tactics en masse or some kind of land incursion. So that badly damaged Awasar has repped up a little bit, just around the 20,000 mark. And they're coming back in as a duo once more. Could potentially get some decent work done.
Strategic launch
But there are a lot of air defences kicking about. 105 Myrmidons in the area just belonging to Analyze Noob. Deponi with another 53 Seraphim Sams. Nuke out from down here, going up towards the comms on the right hand side. The area is well protected. We've got at least 3 anti-nuke silos covering the commanders. Novak satellite 2 operational, number 3 in production. It's like, yes, I know you had mass fab farm plans there, but no. I'm putting my Novaks here. But the Scathis is in play, and a lot of this is, oh dear, a lot of this is unshielded. Oh, what was that even going for? The randomness. Randomness is excessive.
Strategic launch detected.
Oh man, really? They can't take the Athota down? It's just wandered up all the way through here? Oh, is that? That's a Control K from Analyze Noob who is bowing out. So that's 2 players from Team 2 that are dropping out. And it is now pretty much down to Deponi to handle T2's affairs. Oh man, and that Athota just took out the Scathis. Final volley away. Has managed to inflict the required damage. Would you look at that? Oh my gosh, almost took out the Novaks as well. comms now out and about. Fortunately for them, they still have all 3 of those anti-nuke silos, so that is something to be pleased about. But there's another volley coming in. That's the final volley. Do excuse me. Down goes the shields. And they still have all 3 of the anti-nuke silos. They lose 1 of the Novak satellites. God, 2 drops on Team 2, but they are still in this. As we close in towards 1 hour, 53 minutes have passed. What's coming, says Radiance. Shady, now more SMDs. Concerned about the nuke threat. Of course, all of the Seraphim battleships. But there's not many of them. Most of these are actually... How many have we got up here?
Strategic launch detected.
There goes another nuke. So we've got 6 battleships. But then we also have some... one. We have 1 strategic missile submarine for zoomed in. Zoomed in, given everything over to Deponi? Well, not quite. But it's pretty much all on Deponi's shoulder. Because he only has 1 Deponi. Famous for having 1 shoulder. You know what I meant. Nuke connects, but I can't remember what was there, so we'll just assume it was something important. Team 1's infrastructure starting to dwindle a little bit here.
Launch detected.
And there's a lot of defenses still in place for Team 2. My goodness, that's a lot of nukes. And they're all coming out from the Seraphim battleships just over here belonging to Shady Socks. But it looks like they're targeting different things, which can be a risky strategy if you're trying to kill something. In there, it would have taken out a huge power grid and a bunch of defenses. But they went too deep. They're going after this area, presumably trying to kill off some of the reclaim on that Scathis, or maybe just going after the mass fab farm. That was a little too much too soon. And all of these nukes have been shot down. They could have grabbed a lovely one right here, which might have opened the door to some kind of attack, but they haven't got an attack ready anyway. They do have 1 or 2 Orthotas up at the top, and another one gets shot down. Oh my word, we've got another Scathis that's almost cooked, being supplied by the wreck of the previous one, no doubt, which has now been finished off by the support commanders. Both teams just struggling right now to effect the killing blow. What happened to that Yelena? Still being built. Did Team 2 know about it? There hasn't been a huge commitment. They have passed by it at some point. There is the imprint. But there's no ping, so perhaps they haven't registered the threat properly. I want to land a nuke in here or something. Just clear this out, and then you've got a clear run up here. You can move some of this build capacity up, start building. It's the one good thing about Team 1's position. Even though it's all low-grade, unteched infrastructure, they do have a presence and a decent quantity of presence on the ground here. So they can threaten to do stuff like this. Maths, Zooey push, along with an Ethota or 2. And on the ground, they're a little bit vulnerable. We saw already how one Ethota just marched all the way down here and took out the Scathis. What Deponi really needs right now is some experimental defense. Mass Monkey Lord would be nice. He's got one that was under construction there, but that's been abandoned. He's now going for Seraphim T2 point defense to slow down the inevitable, but they're going to lose some defenses, some infrastructure here, a bunch of P-gens, some mass fabs. Ethota, thanks to the gunships, is down to 27,000 hit points and is now marching up against 2 banks and ever more increasingly developed banks of point defense. Don't think the Ithota is going to get in here to cause any more damage. In fact, it's stalled out where it is. Slight error there on behalf of Sox. Novak satellites trying to harass the point defense from the skies, but to little or no effect. Scathis number 2 at the beach, operational, and the volleys are being projected, initially at least, against Shady Sox. A lot of vulnerable mass and power production facilities up here. Perfect weapon to engage such fragmented infrastructure. And there it goes. Look at that. Beautiful connection. Power locking Shady Sox if he wasn't already.
Strategic launch detected.
And now at least one more nuke, possibly another volley of nukes incoming from these battleships. They've taken out that front line that I was complaining about earlier, that the nukes all sailed by. And launching against the Scathis, that's just going to get shot down. I bet we've got tons of anti... Well, there's 2 in that silo. How many do we have in the area? That is the only one covering the Scathis. Probably be worth shoving a few more in there. It's a handful of whaler gunships just plugging the gaps here from this continuous Zui spam. And then further up, Corsairs harassing another Ithota, and they're about to kill it off, actually. Oh, what have we got there? Beautiful air attack, which I was completely sleeping on. Apologies. Perhaps we could go back and revisit that at the end. 58 minutes. But yeah, it must have just been a straight strap bomber attack.
Strategic launch detected.
And now it's essentially Sneck and Shady Sox. Both comms in the water over here. Beautiful play from Deponi, who, considering he's been more or less left by himself, yes, of course, zoomed in is in play, and he has been contributing, like just now with these Corsairs. It's mostly on Deponi's shoulders at this point. Nice little nuke in here. Somehow, oh my goodness, look at that. Somehow, a lot of these aircraft carriers survived. That probably would have been another sea-based nuke, which are generally less potent than the ICBM-launched ones. But this is just a dreadful situation for Team 1. We've got Scathis fire raining down. We've got Monkey Lords, which have emerged onto the beach and are just running riot now. This is not ideal. Another group of Monkey Lords that have just made their way up the causeway, although they're being caught out now by whalers. Ithotas that are making their way down the causeway, presumably coming on from this direction, are being singled out by strap bombers from Deponi. We're going to get an air engagement, but that is likely going to go very comfortably Shady Sox way. We've got tons and tons of aircraft carriers here and an aerial advantage anyway. So the sky's mostly safeguarded, although there's another line of strap bombers further to the east that Sox needs to engage, which he's doing so. He chases them away. Only one Ithota left. Wow. And that's not going to get in there because of the huge quantities of point defense in residence. We are getting some penetration on the left-hand side from the huge amount of Zui spam. And once you lose integrity over here in something like this over such a wide area, it becomes very difficult to contain. This is now looking a bit dicey for Deponi and Team 2. 1 minute past the hour. Strategic missile defense protecting the Scathis. Only one missile left in that silo. There was another silo down here. Actually, look at this. A quadrangle of silos. And unless the Novak satellites can penetrate the shields of and dispatch, that's going to be very difficult to deal with. But the infrastructure up here is dwindling, and that is reflected nowhere better than the mass tally. Team 1 now pulling in a flat 1k apiece, and Team 2 pulling in 1.6k, although that's just dropped to 1.4. Is Deponi now power locked? Yes, he is, so that's not reflective of what he can put out. Somehow still has a huge quantity of strap bombers. I'm not sure where they're all coming from. Probably coming from all of these aircraft carriers that he's been pumping out. Great for aerial defense. Great for sequestering threats, aerial threats away. Certainly paying dividends at the moment in terms of defense. We've stopped a trio of Ethotas coming down here. We've just killed off another experimental on this side, and he can just pull these back now and hide them away. Doesn't matter that he hasn't got the air advantage. It's hit and run tactics. Is he going to sequester them away, or is he going to come and bring them up against Snek's base? Scathis still alive and well. But the Yolona Os is finally completed and trying to launch its first missile, I believe. It's been spotted, it's been pinged, presumably by Zoomed In, or I don't think Analyze Noob would have stuck around if he Control K'd. More shielding going up around this Yolona Os, but it's all poxy T2 shielding. Not the best. First missile is complete and looks like it's powering up to launch. Right. Is this going to turn the battle? Probably not. There's a lot of bombers heading that way. We have got the fighter screen out front trying to protect an assault, and Deponi thinks better of it. Looks like it's coming straight after the beach position, which is no surprise. Novak's not penetrating. Engineers shield tanking nicely, keeping that Scathis protected. But we've got these 4 assisted strategic missile defenses. A little bit of overkill there to take it down, but why not make sure Scathis dialed in, sort of. Firing randomness being what it is. Finding it hard to finish off that Yolona Os, but it's only a matter of time with that T2 shielding, I feel. Wow, would you look at this? Support commanders just moving up through the middle. I don't feel that Team 1 has any counter now to this situation. Strap bombers reaching their targets. They're all going to get shot down, but as long as they kill the Yolona Os, then it will be worth it. And indeed, they do. Oh, wow. But they got one more missile away, and he went for the support commanders. I mean, it was a big threat. Lovely spread by Deponi. Has he managed to save them all? He's lost a bunch of them down here, and he's had a bunch of them further north that have been slightly cooked by the explosion. That's still a sizable threat. Look at these. We've got anti-air on these. So they are preset now. Look, these are presets. RAS presets equipped with anti-air and decent anti-air by the looks of things. Yeah, this isn't great if you're rooting for Team 1. Looks like the direction of travel is pretty clear at this point. There are no game-changing builds on the way. Also, we should have gone for game ender faster instead of building out air. They are getting some penetration in the backfield here. That Mathsui spam that everybody always pretends or likes to pretend has no impact on the game. It is still working to some degree, but they could lose all of this. He's got so much support commander presence. He doesn't need any of this, and as long as the defenses hold, which they probably will over here, there's too much point defense.
Strategic launch detected.
Fota still has half health. $23,000 hit points. It marches on, but the closer it gets, the more fire it will take. Monkey Lord was in situ, adding to that. Support commanders have made themselves a little forward base and are now just spamming out Monkey Lords. I think this is probably done at this point. Credit where credit's due, though, to Taponi. He's made some fantastic plays, some great calls. Kill-loss ratio. It's actually highest for Shady Socks. It's been the most combat efficient. But in terms of total mass accrued, well, that tells the story. Taponi 3.3 million mass, as opposed to Shady Socks 2 million. 1.5 million for Sneck. $6 million to $5 million in favour of Team 2. Comms spread out in the top pond for Team 2. But this infestation will now be a critical state of affairs. There's so much build capacity here. They're going to set up shop. They will gradually deal with everything that's left over here, and all we will have is a tussle on this side, complete control on this side, and a top pond that's in Team 2's control, and that is not a good state of affairs to be in. I wonder what the Scathis is targeting at this point. Sneck is just, to his credit, he's managed to hold on to this situation, but then at the same time, he hasn't really faced much in the way of threat. Taponi and Zoomed In recognizing, ooh, nice choice of nuke there. So, infestation not quite terminal as yet. Blasted, no doubt, by one of these battleships. But yeah, hasn't really come up against very much. All these three Ravagers hold now against this Monkey Lord. Not if they are shooting off against inbound engineers, but of course field of view is very tricky. Stealth field causing problems for the defenses, as they always do. Such a useful aspect of the Monkey Lord. And now it's Hoover time. So that's likely the end of this base. Support commander's going to get tidied up.
Strategic launch detected.
Next nuke out over here. Where's that going? Taponi picking away at the air superiority fighters with some Nothers, which is interesting. That's a nice little target. No, you will not set up shop. I will not have it. Oh, is that every single support commander? It looks like it might just be. Very nice nuke, as John Smith confirms. Wow. So, I mean, it's not over yet, but it's just not looking great. We're getting a real solid push. Credit where credit's due for Team 1. That they are not going down without a fight. Pony really getting challenged here. Slowly but surely the spam is pushing its way in this direction. What have we got here? More flak going up. I feel like we need a bit more in the way of ground defenses. But I suppose contain the air threat and your own air can deal with the poultry tank on a Zooey, even if there's hundreds of them. They are using up Depony's APM here. However, Monkey Lord, for zoomed in, has dispatched Sneck's base once and for all and is now expanding in this direction. 1 hour and 12 minutes. And Team 1 highly reluctant to yield. I admire the spirit greatly. With most of the threats pacified up at the top right hand corner, that Scathis has now trained its muzzles on all of the spam and the factories on his own side of the field. Gabba, maybe start looking for his comm. He has no subs or boys, won't be hard to find. That is a fair comment from Beyond the Grave. But why is it Beyond the Grave? I feel it's petty. Why did you leave, sir? It would be very interesting to see if Team 2 would be in this situation had he left. They potentially have already lost if Depony had not had access to all of those extra resources. Who can say? Scathis looks like it might be going after some of the vessels now. They're pretty heavily clumped up in here. Aircraft carriers not the tankiest of things. My goodness, look at the spy planeage. They're going hunting for the commanders now. Look at the spy planeage. There, that's one. You could think that those are two of them, but one of those is a sub. Do we have torpedo bombers lurking somewhere? Whaler gunships going after the defending experimentals, but it's being subjected to huge quantities of flak. They are about to get obliterated. The inbound Ithota only has around 12,000 hit points. It's trying to utilize its ranged advantage as best it can. They must have identified one of the commanders. It's definitely loitering in this area. And there are torpedo bombers in this clump.
Strategic launch detected.
Depony going after the aircraft carriers. Nuke out from the battleship just over here. And they've realised the threat. In comes another nuke. This should deal decent amount of damage. It's about 4 or 5 aircraft carriers that bite the dust. The battleship is still going strong. Full health, that's 58,000 hit points. They're trying to get some of their own nukes out, but he looks like he's going after the comm with one of the nukes. The comm recognizes the threat, but I think he's mistaken it. That's actually a strategic missile submarine. And it's survived. It's a sub-hunter, excuse me, but it's survived the explosion. Torpedo bombers away, but they're probably going to get shot down. Not enough of them. Huge air wing to the south. Aircraft carriers in their way. Just picked apart. No joy there. Back on Team 1's side of the field. It's still not been completely pacified. We've got a couple of fat boys patrolling the area and 3 pockets of resistance, essentially. A rear base which is almost trying to be redeveloped, this time by Snek, with a ton of support commanders. Scathis now going after some of these newly produced T1 land factories.
Strategic launch detected.
Shady Sock says, I'm done. Sends units over to Snek. He believes it's over. There's not much in the way. Oh my goodness. Out come the Torp bombers. Oh, a few battleships going to get nicked by this, but of course we've already seen they can tank at least one. He's not dropping out though. He's donated his stuff over to Snek. Perhaps he just doesn't want to play anymore, unless of course Snek goes down, just to be the biggest pain in the world. It has taken Team 2 a long time to finish off Team 1. Oh my god. 367 torpedo bombers. And they haven't actually identified Snek's location, so even if they do pick off this comm, well, that comm is now going to disappear. That we have got a Control K from Shady Socks. GG out from Snek. He surrenders, and that is that. A 1 hour, 18 minutes. But I mean, the trajectory was very clear. There was no way, realistically, that Team 1 were going to get back in that. They had brought down the mass production from Team 2 significantly. When you remember, they were up near 2K at one point. They'd cut that in half down to 924. Only problem is that Team 1 were only pulling in 543. They were not going to be able to break through. They'd done an amazing job chopping their way through all of this and curtailing Deponi's presence. I should say Deponi and Zoomed In's presence just to the beach area, but there were just these huge banks of point defense, the odd experimental kicking about, and they were just slowly getting picked apart by the Scathis. They were never going to be allowed to re-expand here, and over time, I think the trajectory was clear. We just would have seen as fewer and fewer battleships remained. I mean, think of how densely populated this whole top pond was with battleships and aircraft carriers, and look what we had at the end. Really not very much at all. He had, although fair enough, he had transferred everything over to VMC, but I think sometimes when you Control K and you've done that, doesn't it take your naval units with you, which is why it's a good thing not to Control K? Or is that an old mechanism that was taken out? Anyway, what I'm saying is I don't think it would have made much of a material difference. There was no way out of it for Team 1. And to be honest, I'm surprised it went on for as long as it did. It really is a testament to how well Team 1 were playing under the circumstances. I want to just take a look at what happened at 58 minutes. So we're going to cut to that. So here we are at 58 minutes and 30 seconds. You can see John Smith up over here, and he's just completed a slew of upgrades, actually. He's got cloak on there. He's got microwave laser. and he's just completed T2 and T3 engineering suite over the course of the last few minutes. He's just been upgrading like crazy. Now you can see a transport is moving in to pick up the comm, so I'm very interested to contemplate what he might have had planned here. Some sort of crazy comm drop, maybe. The only problem is that at this exact moment we've just had a huge cross-the-board launch of strategic bombers from aircraft carriers around here for Deponi, and at the same time, incidentally, we've just had a volley from the Scathis land down here. The comm was actually just sitting around out here a minute ago, but he moved it back inside the shield. Now, at the same time, he's brought a Dragonfly in, presumably either to take it to safety somewhere else because of the Scathis, or because he had some drop in mind. And I'm guessing maybe this has been part of the issue which caused his demise. If we start time, you can actually see strategic bombers moving up towards this location, and he does actually get the Dragonfly away. Another wave of Scathis fire lands. Then he thinks better of it. And does he get hit? No freaking way! He gets hit mid-air by a Scathis shell, and that's what takes him out. See, it was totally worthwhile covering that. What an absolute freak accident of all of the things that could have happened. That's what took him out of the game? You serious? Hilarious. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. As always, more to come from me in the future. Please do like and subscribe and do all that jazz. And if you want to support me, guys, the best way to do that is through Patreon. It's $1 a month, and you get access at the moment to 128 ad-free casts, something like that, over on the premium channel. So do come and check that out, guys. All your support really, really helps. Until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.